They are lesbians. Okay, now look, the Legend of Korra, it is not as good as Legend of Aang. Legend of Aang, for me, I think is a outstanding cartoon series. But even if the Legend of Korra is not as good as Legend of Aang, it is still a pretty interesting story with pretty good characters. The only issue are the side characters, the surrounding characters are some of the best throughout the series. The main characters are bricks. See, Korra, for me, cool. You want to go the whole female route, the whole female perspective, and so forth. That's fine. That's all cool. The issue with Korra is she just wasn't very likable. She wasn't interesting, and there was not really anything about her that's really attracted me towards her. You know, it was she seemed sometimes a bit too bitchy, sometimes a bit too arrogant, and I never felt myself rooting for her in the same way that I rooted for Aang, because Aang, I just thought he was interesting. There was something about him that just was a bit off, a bit odd, and I think because it was a bit off and weird and maybe a bit of an outsider, it maybe attracted me towards him as opposed to me towards Korra. Mako is zero dimensional. Fully. He has to be one of the most boring characters I've ever seen. It's like, yeah, okay, like there was nothing, absolutely nothing interesting about him. And yeah, he was obviously there to play the love interest for Korra and so forth. And they tried to give him a bit of depth, but for me, Marco just did not work for me. No way, no how, no way. Zero dimensional. He reminded me of flipping Henry Cavill as Superman. Bolin, you are not soccer. I think they tried to make him like soccer. That's how they wanted him to be. And it was almost a mirror image. But it was like soccer just sort of, he walked in his very weird sense of humor. Bolin, I think they started giving him a bit of a weird sense of humor, then he just became the comedian. He was just there to crack jokes. And I was like, bro, you don't have to crack a joke every single time. You know, so it became tiresome and it became a bit too forced in how they were trying to represent him as being the court jester and the guy trying to raise the levity of everything. So for me, Bolin, sorry. The thing with Asami is she was probably, even if she's still not a great character, I probably found her the most interesting out of the whole Team Avatar crew, you know, because I thought for Avatar, first of all, look, I'll say that I don't care with it's a cartoon. she look guy. So Asami, I just thought her storyline with regards to her and her father, where she was coming from, she's a bit rich, but also she feels a bit lost, and her relationship with Mako and her relationship with Korra as well was interesting. And I'll come back to this. I don't know what you guys are saying. They are lesbians. Korra and Asami are lesbians. The only reason why that wasn't fully shown is because it's a kids show. Make no mistake, they are lesbians. We'll get back to this at the end of this review. I love Tenzin. Tenzin for me was one of my favorite characters. Not my favorite, but I'll get there. Tenzin was definitely one of my favorite characters. Because, you know, I like guys like this who have a strong code of honor, who are a bit old school, and guys, I just like guys with beards and massive robes. It's always sort of been my thing, man. So I thought he was really, really, really cool. I'd have liked him to do more, and I would actually prefer if he was actually the main character of this, trying to follow in Aang's footsteps and having difficulty filling in the role of Aang. But for what he was, I thought your boy Tenzin was I. I thought your boy Tenzin was I. You know, his fight with you know who, highlights of the whole series, and I'll get to the you know who, but his fight with that dude was tight. So now I can't remember what their names are, but Toph's kids. One of them was the chief of police. The other one said what's up in that kind of Earth kingdom where all the metal stuff is. But really, the main one, I think it's Lee or Lu, who they deal with. The main characters deal with basically the chief of police. She was another one of my favorite characters because I liked how her character was similar to Toph, very hard edged, and how we learned about her backstory as well. And also just her metal bending was just really cool. So I thought that was a character that I think worked really well. And from the beginning all the way to the very end, and when even you see her arc and how she sort of comes to terms with Toph, her mother, and comes to terms with her sister, I thought that was cool. I thought that was cool. So yeah, for me, yeah, I'll give that. I get it. Let's not get to the villains, because for me, the villains is where this show really rides up and says what's up. So in book one, you had a man, really good villain. Really good villain, and for me, I would have actually liked him to be much more in the rest of the books. I thought the mask looked cool, the voice looked cool, what he was about, what he was able to do looked really cool, and I just thought what he represented was so interesting. I wish he was the villain in book two as well, because book two for me was the weakest book, and the villain in book two just wasn't popping off for me. So book two just lost me. I think it would have been really cool if a man, you extended him from book one, and he then had the resolution in taking him out in book two. That's what I would have preferred. So I thought he was cool. He was cool. I really liked a man, and I just thought that he was a bit wasted, because I think that they could have done more with him, and they could have used him a lot more, because what he represented was something that you could have taken to very interesting places in a narrative sense. Now, I don't know how many of you guys know who Henry Rollins is. See, I knew of Henry Rollins way before watching this show, because I think my brother was like a fan of his band, and I knew him from Johnny Mnemonic and of Heat. But he used to have, I don't think he used to have like an MTV show or something. So I used to just watch him, and I knew him he's a very weird, odd, interesting, offbeat kind of guy with a very distinct voice, and so forth. So once I just realized that, wow, Henry Rollins is actually in this, I was like, oh wow, this is interesting. Zahir is the standout of this entire show. Book 3 is the best season, and I would argue this is where things get crazy. I would argue that book 3 is the best season out of all of the avatars, including Aang. So Aang is just more consistent, but as far as story goes, forget about characters, story, fight scenes, plot, narrative, pacing, book 3 in this thing was off the wall. Zahir, like we said, that's my guy. If you want to say, okay, what really gets HH going, it's Zahir. Like, this dude was just incredible. From the voice, his motivation, his characterization, his fight with Tenzin was a highlight. His fight with Tenzin was easily the highlight. That was just absolutely so perfect. The way they went like this, that's the story of the fight, went up and down, spinning, all that kind of stuff. He lubricated flipping Tenzin. I was very sorry for Tenzin. This dude somehow convinced himself mentally to fly. Guys, wait a minute. How did he fly? He was so mentally next level. He was so mentally tier 1 chief Oga. He basically made himself fly somehow. I was like, okay, no, this guy has now evolved to the next level. So for me, Zahir was absolutely amazing, absolutely flipping amazing. The weakness of this, the main character was weak. I couldn't root for her. And the 3 main characters, Bolin, Mako, and Korra, they didn't work for me. Yeah, they were cool, and I grew to like them, but I never connected with them as much as I did with Aang, Sokka, and Katara in Aang. For me, those characters were just far better drawn than the characters here. But the strength of this was the storytelling on this was really good, and I think they went a lot deeper. As I already said, book 3 is the standout in all of the Avatar series of Aang and Korra as well. And what really got me going and what really kept me watching it was, I think, the villains were really good. The outside characters were really good. Their background stories were good. But just the general story and the lore was good. One of the best episodes. I think the best episode out of everything. I'm not sure what it's called. It might be called Beginnings. Beginnings Part 1, I believe, is when you find out about, is it Ravi and the evil demon? When you find out about the positive demon, the good demon, and the evil demon. When you find out about, is it Nat or Ratsu or Fatsu, Satsu, something two. When you find out about those 2 demons and the first avatar, I was like, oh wow, this is now getting deep. This is getting interesting. So even by seeing that, you're like, there is so much you can go to, because they've built such a ritual into this that it is crazy how they don't even have even more episodes to come through. The fighting in this is superb. The fight choreography is insane. And the fight choreography was cool. In this, they take things to the next level, because there were some scenes that, like, wait a minute, this is better than stuff that I see in most films. And from watching this and how dynamic the scenes are, with the kind of crazy stuff that is happening and the amazing mix of the different bending abilities, I said to myself that there is no way that this can be done in film. This cannot be replicated in film. And this only works within the paradigm and the confines of anime and cartoons. And I was sitting on the edge of my seat saying, man, this stuff is up the chain. That Henderson, let's not get it twisted. They're lesbians. Because I was watching very close, because as we were going through, and as you saw Korra moving away from Malcolm, and like how Malcolm was sort of breaking up, and you saw the friendship of Korra and Asami evolve. I was like, wait a minute, this is becoming more and more than a friendship. And for me, because I've been an amateur writer, I can connect the dots. And what sold it for me, despite just looking at how they were sort of hinting at it throughout the books, was the very last scene. Because I said to myself that if these guys hold hands, if they don't hold hands, all right, cool. If they hold hands, they held hands, and they looked at one another, and they then faded away. Oh, we're just going to take a holiday as friends. They're lesbians. The reason why this wasn't pushed forward is because you obviously cannot do that lesbian and gay kind of relationship for kids, which I agree with. You can't enforce it into kids. If kids are going to be gay or lesbian, let them discover it naturally by themselves. But 100%, the writers definitely try to push forth that Asami and Korra, they organically discovered that, well, I think we actually sexually like each other. But they couldn't say that explicitly within the series, but 100%, they're lesbians. Become a Half Hope Sort member and gain access to exclusive videos, and also the chance to watch films, anime, or different videos with your boy HH exclusively. Just click below on the join button to join in and become a Half Hope Sort member to gain access to these perks. Just click on the community icon over here to view the new members only posts just for you.